Hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain one of the new feature of Spring 6.1, that is new REST client. Spring Framework 6.1 actually introduced the REST client, a new synchronous HTTP client. As the name suggests, REST client offers the fluent API of web client with the infrastructure of REST template. So previously we are using the REST template basically. So as we know, this REST template is basically used to call another services, actually another APIs. Suppose we are having one microservices and that having exposing some APIs, and also with there also we need to call some external APIs. So then actually basically for calling the external services we are going to use the REST template. There are other options also, but the REST template basically we are using for calling the external services. So Spring Framework basically offer two different options to perform the HTTP request. One is the REST template, another one is the web client. So if we talked about the REST template, it's introduced actually very long ago. In Spring 3 actually it introduced. It's have an implementations of the template pattern providing synchronous blocking communications. Whereas web client released as part of the Spring 5 web flux libraries, and it provides a fluent API and it follows a reactive model. So REST template actually approach expose too many HTTP feature, leading to a there is some numbers of overloaded method we need to do, right? And web client is a replacement of REST template supporting both synchronous and asynchronous call, as it is a part of the web reactive project. Now Spring 6.1 basically this version brings up the REST client, a new synchronous HTTP client which works in a similar way to web client using the same infrastructure as REST template having. So REST client actually offers Fluent API. Also it can be used with HTTP interface introduced in 6.0, formerly with the web client. It also allow us to achieve the same result as REST template and uses a synchronous HTTP client. So as you can this REST client basically introduces, this is the new features of this Spring Framework 6.1 and the Spring Boot 3.2. But previously we are very used to the REST template. So we can with the REST client also we can use whatever the functionalities REST template is having there, same function we can also use there. Now actually we are going to see how we are going to use the REST client, because if we are going to use this one, it will be very easy to use actually. So let's see how we are going to achieve the same thing with in a easy way to call the any external services. So let's check some real example of calling some APIs using REST client with the new features of Spring Boot 3.2. So for demonstrating this REST client actually, I have created one project. As you can see, the demo REST client. So for project creation, you guys can create the project easily from the Spring Initializer. From there actually you just need to select the artifact name and also the dependencies. So for creating this one, so if I let's check this form file actually. So as you can see, there is only one dependencies we need. One is the starter web, nothing else dependencies is required. Okay, and as you can see the version is 3.2.0 M2. This is the version of this latest version of the Spring Boot. Okay, and Java 17 I have used as a Java. So this is about the dependencies of, as means for using the REST client we just need only this starter web, because also it is included with this one. And for call creating the controller and all those things also it is required. So for this it is one, and as you can see all the dependencies are 3.2 M2 is the dependencies is used. Now for achieving this one actually basically REST client is basically used to calling the external services. Okay, so for that actually in one of my implementation, one of my tutorial, I've already explained how we are going to the JDB client. It is also a new feature, and for demonstrating this one I have created one CRUD operation kind of thing, one controller. There are actually 4 or 5 controllers over here. Okay, so for demonstrating this one I will up this microservice I will up and trying to call this find by ID or create user. This means actually APIs I'm trying to call from this REST client microservices. Okay, so for calling this, actually this API actually will be start in the 880 port, and this is the path localhost 880 API, and then path. Then this path we need to give find all, find by ID. This path we need to provide. So in the properties file, actually I mentioned this path, like what is the default path of this for calling the external API. And this as we are going to use up this application in 880 port, so that's why we are going to up this application in 8081 port. Okay, so this is just kind of briefly things just about the how we are going to call this one. Okay, and this is the controller for this JDBC client, that particular APIs, these APIs we are going to call from this project. Okay, so let's create actually one project over here. So this DTO I have this record I have created, because this actually whenever we're going to find all or find by ID, so this DTO actually is getting returned from this application. Okay, so let's create one controller. So like the name can be kind of external service caller, for example, external service caller. Okay, and it will be a controller, so @rest controller, and also we can provide the API mapping request mapping. Okay, /API. Now what we need to do first actually here actually are going to create the new REST client object. So how we are going to create this REST client object? So for creating the REST client object, there are actually 2-3 options. Either we can create REST client using one of the static create method, something like REST client equal to REST client dot create, something like I'm providing one approach. This is the one approach. Okay, this is the one approach for creating the REST client. Second approach is to we can use the builder, REST client builder, to get a builder with further options such as we need to specifying the HTTP client to use, then setting the default URL of it is, path variables, headers. Maybe if we need some kind of the interceptor, so for filtering out something, or maybe we need to restrict something, we need to use the interceptor, and maybe initializer. So those kind of things actually we need to define then builder. So we are going to, in this example I'm going to use a builder pattern, because we need to provide the base URL and other thing maybe we can easily provide over there. And also using the existing REST template if we're having, then also we can create the REST client something like this. Okay, this is also in this way also you can do. Okay, so obviously we need to define something, so this is also one kind of pattern that in this way also you can create those things. Okay, so here let's create this REST client and trying to get some basic method like get method with some different functionalities of REST client. Okay, so first actually we need to define our REST controller. Okay, so instead of REST client actually. Okay, REST client. Okay, now here we are going to define the bean of it is. So for example, user okay, external okay. So here basically we are going to pass this REST client dot builder, REST client builder. Okay, or REST builder, and here basically we need to pass the default URL. Okay, how we are going to, so default URL we are defining in the properties file, right? This is the URL, user service dot URL. So how we are going to use this one? Maybe we can directly use this annotation value, and here we can pass this dollar. How we are getting this one? This one, user dot service dot URL. Okay, so this is actually base URL. Okay, Okay, now we are going to initialize this REST client over in the constructor. So using this builder, actually dot base URL we need to provide dot build, so it will build us the REST client. That means REST client is basically ready to call any APIs. Okay, next actually we are going to call any post method, like how we are going to like call the post method. As suppose in these applications, if we open this controller, so first actually having this post mapping, this method if you are going to use, how we are going to call this one using REST client. Okay, so for that, for example, we are going to create user, and here we need to pass the same request body, user. Okay, now here we need to use this REST client dot post is the post request. Next we need to provide the URI, means in which URI it will actually we need to send the request. So it will be a create user, right? It will be a create user. As you can see over here, if we check the create user, this is the API. Next, after the URI, we need to set the content type. So content type is obviously a application JSON dot application JSON. Okay. Next, we need to pass this body as a in request parameter, right? We need to pass this body, and then we need to retrieve. We need to using the retrieve, we will get the details of it is. Okay. So here actually to bodiless entity, means suppose if it is a void, then we need to return this. Okay, so then we need to use as a bodiless, means suppose we don't need any body. As you can see over here, it's a void method, so that means we don't need any body. What will expect? It will actually return as the created, means 201 status code. So after receiving the response from here, we are not getting anything. What we are getting, it's a bodiless entity. It will return us the things, but it will return doesn't return any body. It will return us only the status code like 201. So if we return these things from over here, then it will be a void response with the response entity. As you can see, the return type is response entity of void, because it's a bodiless entity. We are not means expecting anything over here, so that's why we are don't expecting any body kind of, because sometimes in a post request, suppose we are sending something, and in a response we are receiving, means maybe we are expecting some kind of the, in a body we are getting some response like this successful with the status code, maybe some customization method. So those kind of thing we are expecting, but here we don't have anything, so that's why it's a bodiless entity. Okay, and obviously we need to map this one as a post mapping, and here also we need to like mention the path like create user. Okay, so post is done now. Next actually let's create one basic like get request and retrieve the content as entity, like, or maybe whatever the data type you are using, maybe string or any kind of the entity. Okay, so create another get mapping. So for the timing, void, then get user. Okay, so here basically we'll provide one get mapping. Okay, so path is a find by ID. Okay, so that particular ID, maybe from here we can also receive that, like it's a kind of path variable. Okay, but also like we can also now let's check like how we are going to get this one. REST client, not this one, we need the instance dot, it's a get request, so we need to provide the get, then we need to provide the URI. Okay, so for this URI is like find by ID. If we check this one like find by ID, and then we need to provide the path variable. Okay, find by ID. Let's do the similar kind of thing over here also. and here use this path variable, okay. Find by id slash, we need to pass this id. So either we can pass this id or maybe it will be a hard coded also you can pass dot uri, and then what it will accept, it will accept media type as application json, app application json, okay. Next, after this we need to retrieve, okay, so that it will return as a response. And how we are expecting the response, it will basically respond as a user, okay, because it will return as the user. As you can see over here, it will return as the this user, find by id, okay. So basically this is things over here. So if we return this one from here, then it will obviously return to user instead of the void. So this is get mapping is done. Next, basically what we are going to do, like suppose if we need response with with the status code and headers, not just the content actually, then we can use the two entity to get the, like this one, two entity basically with so that we can like get the status and all those things. Like REST client also like convert the JSON to objects using Jackson under the hood, and in fact it can also convert all types of REST template supports. Means whatever the type we are using the REST template, all types of support is provided, and also it uses the same message converter. Let's check some kind of like as the URI you are using, then accept kind of thing. So this kind of also we are using over here. So now let's check like how we are getting the like status code and all the things, okay. So we are going to use the similar kind of things, only the thing is that like we can say it will be entity find by id, okay. So here also I can pass the id, entity find by id, okay. Now for that actually basically what we are going to do, user equal to user, okay. To entity, okay. And it will be a response entity of the user, okay. Finally what we will return from here, return user RTU, okay. Okay, now here actually like we can print the dot get status code, okay. And also it's having some other functions also, other methods also, like get body, get headers, all the things we can get from over here. So that's why it's saying like we can't return the entity from here, okay. So this is the another approach for just to like in response if we need the status code and the headers and the other things, then we are going with this approach. Like for this, instead of returning the body, then we are going to entity, okay. So this is another approach. Next is like if we try to like bodiless, that I was mentioning here, as you can see this is actually kind of bodiless return, so that already I've explained over here. Next, like another things is there, means about the REST client. By default REST client actually throws a subclass of REST client exception. When we are receiving like 400 or maybe 4 series exception or maybe 5 under the 5 series status code, then the this behavior can be like means we are means getting those kind of exception. So this exception can be, we can override using some kind of the status handler. So for that we need to use the onStatus method actually, and then we need to use our custom exception over there. So let's check how we are going to implement this one. Okay, so let's check this one. Okay, so suppose this is kind of get user not found, actually you can say user not found scenario. Okay, means suppose we are passing some IDs, but the user is not available or something, then how we are handling those things. So basically what we will do after the retrieved, we need to use the on status. Okay, here basically we need to use the HTTP status code. Okay, we need to use this predicate HTTP status code, then is HTTP status code, then we need to check is a 4xx client error. Then what we will do here, we will like we need to do some predicate over here. Okay, here basically request comma response. Okay, now actually here okay. So what we did on status, actually we'll check if it is a 400 related request response actually, then maybe from here we can throw our own custom exception. So for that we need to create our own like custom exception class, custom exception, and then we can throw from over here. Okay, so let's create this class. We can easily create custom exception, and it will be extends runtime exception, okay. Then like we can custom exception, and then from here we can say like in the super method need to user not found. Okay, okay, so this exception we have created so that it will call from over here, and it will return in a body actually some string or maybe some user. Okay, so in this way like we can handle actually our own custom things with the on status. So this is also one of the good feature of this one, like we can handle those things, we can override those things, status handler. So those kind of things also available. The REST clients also offer the like exchange method for more like advanced scenarios, like it's provides the access of the HTTP request and response. Previously mentioned the whatever this status handler that I have mentioned over here, This basically things actually not applied when we are going to use the exchange, because the exchange function already provide access to the full response, allowing to perform any kind of the if any error handling is necessary or not based on that. In some cases also we might want to do some more advanced things. For that actually we need to access the HTTP request and response so that we can be like do more things over there. So these things actually basically we can achieve by using the exchange. So let's check how we are going to use this exchange one. Okay, so let's copy this one and we can say user with exchange. Okay, find by ID, create user, find by ID is fine, entity fine, and this is user not found, for example user not found. Okay, next this is user with exchange. Okay, so here actually what we are going to do, we need to do the URI, then accept is needed, then here basically we are going to use exchange. Okay, and here basically we are going to use request comma response. Okay, this is not a curly braces actually, this will be a first bracket, and then we are going to use this predicate. Okay, so we don't need this retrieved and on status over here. Okay, now here actually we need to check if the response dot get status code is 200 successful. If not basically, then we can throw custom exception. Okay, something like that. If not, then maybe we can use some kind of the object mapper, and then with new object, and then basically what we will do, we will using this object dot read value this response dot get body, and then what kind of body it is, like it's a user, so we are providing over here, and then finally we need to return this user. Okay, and then finally okay, okay, so this is kind of using the exchange one. Like this is also one of the options that we can easily achieve using REST client. So these are the methods that I have basically for demonstrating that basically nowadays basically we are using every time, like get, post, put, so all things we can achieve over here. So for demonstrating purpose I am trying to keep very simple so that it will be very easy to understand. If you guys have anything uh, also you guys can let me know in the comment section so that I can clear those things. I will try to clear those things. Now let's start this application so that you can run from the postman and then we'll get some output. Okay, so first actually we are going to run this one. Okay, it will be start in the 8080 port, and once it will be start, then we will be start this application. It is started. Now we'll start this one. will be also started already. Both applications started now. So as I'm using the like H2 in-memory databases, you can see in this application basically you can check like this CRUD underscore person. So let's check this is the database. Okay, this is empty now actually we are going to create some user. From here we are going to call this create user so that it will create some user. So let's try to create user. So this request mapping, this 8801, that means we are calling this particular applications as this application is starting in the 8081 port, and it will internally call the like another microservice. Let's see, that means 201 is created. Let's check the database. You can see the data is created. So how we are calling this one, like from here basically we are going to, as you can see over here, we are going to pass this URL. This is the base URL and this is the, then we are going to this URI. Okay, so that means what is the base URL? The localhost 8080 API and then created user. So that means 8080 port. So that means it will be called the number of created one. So that means it will going to call this controller, and here it will find this one, okay, this create user, and then it will actually basically create the user into this particular user underscore details table. So in this way basically from this microservice getting called via REST client, means it's a network call. So this particular network call basically called using REST client. Okay, I hope it's clear to you. It's very simple, not complex. If you guys have anything, please do let me know so that I can clear those things, and please also don't forget to subscribe my channel. So now this is, that means create user is working fine. Now next we will try to find by ID with this path variable. So let's try to like get this one find by ID, and also here we need to find this ID. Okay, so that means 1. So as you can see in the database, the ID is 1. Okay, so let's try to call this one. As you can see, if we call this one and we're getting the data. Okay, so that means this is also done now, and this will be also like work. I'll come later, but now suppose if you're trying to check this one, user not found, this one. Okay, if we call this one user not found, then it will give us some exception because we are calling this one with 2 ID. 2 IDs is not available in our database, so we will expecting some exception over here, means we will get. Okay, so that means internally it will, means we are just handling this one. Okay, so here basically you are not getting any exception, because if you see like over here, if you are trying to get any IDs which is not available, in that case also like we'll get the optional, meaning we are not getting any kind of the null point exception or something. So that's where we are getting the 200 success over here also. Okay, so this is fine. That means these are also working. Now like if we check these things, like this is also should work fine. Entity find by ID. Let's try this one /1. Okay, so this is also working, means we are getting the response. Okay, this is to entity, and also what else we are missing over here. So all are working fine. Now this exchange kind of thing, it will be also work. It's a get method. So instead of that we are going to use this one and find by ID. This is also working fine. So that means all are working fine. So the thing is that like what we like trying to achieving over here, we are trying to like we have created one microservice. This is the one, like this demo REST client, and this is the another microservice. So this is deployed in a 8080 port and this is deployed 8081 port. So from this client, we are trying to calling the APIs for these microservices. So as there is a network call and something, so that means we need to HTTP call. We need to call something with HTTP, which is basically HTTP call, right? So then we thought of something kind like maybe there is some other approaches for calling these APIs, but one of the best approach is a REST template, or previously basically we are using the REST template, the below of this one. But there are some kind of things we need to follow. I will in one of my explain I will try to explain like how the REST template is basically working, that I will cover. But here actually trying to how will like easily we can access those services API with minimum of effort. As you can see over here, what we have defined here, we just need to defining the REST client. Okay, just we are defining the base URL, and then we are just, as you can see, just define the URI, content type, body, and then retrieve. Using the retrieve we will get the data. Okay, and it's also provide lots of things like as you can see, the bodiless entities, then only entity, body. So those things is provide all, and also we are able to handle the exception in case of the any 404 gateway timeout or any exceptions is occurred. Those kind of things also we are able to manage, and we can also throw our custom exception like on status handler using. Another is the exchange method is a lots more flexibility. Here actually we are getting the request and response both things, and using this we can lots more things here there is the opportunity to do. So that means it's provide the lots of flexibility to use this one. So definitely it's a very good functionalities for in these upcoming new features of this Spring Boot 3.2. So this is the overall things of this REST client, and you know, this is the REST client is one of the just one of the many feature that Spring Framework 6.1 is have. So various components already supported like REST client. So if you guys have anything, any questions, any doubt, please do let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.